Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in again to this podcast. It always means so much to me, and seeing your guys' support, all the tags, everything you guys do, it means a lot, and it really helps the show. And to have you guys sharing it goes a long way. So waited for me to do all of that. I'm going to introduce her. She is a trainer, online coach, and posing coach who just recently made her pro debut, or I guess when you guys hear this, not so recently, at the New York Pro, but had prepped herself to earn her pro card, which is amazing. So how are you doing, Roxanne Huff?
Good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. I really appreciate you coming on here. Like I said, I'm just so happy that you're here, and just glad that we're doing this episode. I have so many good things planned, and I think we have a lot to learn from you, so I'm excited about that. But I always like to know, what is something you do or a ritual you have right before your heel hits the stage?
Well, usually right before my heel hits the stage, I just practice vacuuming my stomach because I don't want to let it go when I'm doing my transitions, which I have a habit of doing. So I just practice vacuuming my stomach in and holding it tight and taking deep breaths.
Wow, that's awesome. So did you figure out that you had a habit of like letting your stomach out just from looking at stage shots, or how did you figure that out, that that was something you needed to work on?
Looking at stage shots, I constantly take videos of me posing, looking at those, and I've really worked on it. So I just, want to keep that tight core when I'm transitioning into my back pose from my front pose. So, I just really try to hold it in.
Nice. Okay, got it. And like I mentioned in the intro, before you started working with your current coach, you prepped yourself to earn your pro card. So what did you do to make sure you were ready for that?
A lot of training. I think I may have overtrained, but I would read every single thing I could get a hold of. I would follow, some of the coaches that, had athletes that did really well. I would basically just, I studied a lot of what I had to do it right. And it took me a lot of time. I prepped myself through 4 shows, and getting my pro card. So, it didn't go right the first time. I didn't even have like a peak week. I didn't carb up or I didn't do anything. So I just went into the show not knowing what to do. And then I'm like, okay, I'll try it different this time. And I just kept on trying different like variations of what would work for me. And then, sort of figured it out from there.
Looking back, do you think that that was like the best thing you could have done for yourself, or do you ever wish maybe, oh, I wish I kind of had a coach?
No, I don't regret coaching myself at all. I think I learned a lot about my body. I think I personally know my body better than anybody else. So it's something that sort of came naturally to me. So I never even thought of getting a coach.
Wow.
And there's no coaches around here really. And I thought your coach had to be local at first when I first started, like it's someone you had to work out with and everything. And there's no one around. So, I just dove in head first.
Wow. And you had prepped yourself then from your first show all the way to your national show where you earned a pro card, right?
Yes. And then the beginning of January this year, I went on with Team Atlas and had him do my nutrition for me just because I was working a lot more and I wasn't going to be able to figure out things a lot. And I just didn't want to think anymore. I wanted to see where I could get my body to, having a coach, having somebody tell me what to do. And I'm really glad I did because I learned even more about myself. And I do think I brought one of my best physiques to stage to date. So, it was a whole different experience for me.
Yeah, totally. I've never prepped myself. I mean, I've trained myself, I've coached myself off season or before I got into competing. But I know that having a coach, I personally feel like takes so much of the mental demands down, right? So have you noticed that it's almost more bearable or you're not putting so much pressure on yourself now that you have a coach who does a lot of that planning for you?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I feel like I have less pressure in preparing myself for the show. I'm just told what to do and I do it. But also there's still another side that I feel pressured because I don't want to let my coach down now. And, I never did check-ins with myself. I never had to, I never did any of that stuff. It was just, as I went along, I would pose and see how I looked. I never had certain check-ins. I never had certain things told to me. So it took adjusting, but, I caught on quickly.
That makes me wonder, like when you were prepping yourself, how was that different than now working with a coach? Like, did you have different standards or protocols for yourself, or I guess you could say rules or guidelines?
Well, prepping myself, I did not follow any meal plans. I ate intuitively the whole time. So, I eat pretty healthy anyways. I would cut out the peanut butter at night, but for the most part, I didn't measure anything. I didn't weigh anything out. So I never knew exactly how many calories I was even eating. But, I just went by, I ate similar to what I ate in a prep now that I did, but I just didn't, I never had measured anything. So,
Wow.
yeah, so you know, I, it's weird looking back at it. I'm like, how did I even do that? But, and also I would bring myself in way too lean, because I didn't have a second set of eyes telling me that, look, you need to put on weight. You need to, stop doing as much cardio. You need to cut out doing hamstring work. I would just be going, I was working out 2.5 hours a day when I trained myself. And then when I joined a team, it's like, it sort of got easier because my coach would be like, okay, burn 200 calories, burn 100 calories. Okay, stop doing this. So my workouts actually got a lot easier um, with a coach. So, that was nice because I didn't kill myself during this prep because usually I would kill myself and be absolutely exhausted.
Yeah. Isn't that
Mm-hmm.
interesting how in our heads we think almost like we have to we have to be so exhausted and dying to feel like, oh, okay, I'm doing what I need to be doing. When then we get this reality check of, oh, it doesn't have to be that hard.
Oh my gosh, it was like eye-opening to me because I was like, I could do this for the rest of my life because,
Mm.
I'm not killing myself. I'm actually enjoying life and enjoying prep. And, I'm getting stuff done still, but, I'm not feeling guilty for not spending 2.5, 3 hours at the gym. It became like a part-time, full-time job when I was doing it myself.
Right. That's crazy. And then,
People
isn't it?
probably thought I was crazy in the gym, like
Oh, for
going
sure.
so hard. Looking back, I'm like, I think I scared people a little bit, but not this prep, but when I trained myself, I thought I had to be the most conditioned, the leanest, and it's totally not the way it is.
Mm. Did you get that feedback a lot when you were prepping yourself? Like you came in too lean or too shredded or whatever?
Always. Even I've always come in too conditioned, way too conditioned. My first show, I was way too lean. I look back at the pictures and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't even know how I placed because it was an OCB event. It was a local show that was in Maine, and I feel like in the natural divisions they come in a little bit bigger anyways, but I
Yeah.
was thin. And looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've grown so much. But yeah, it was crazy.
That's pretty cool though. I mean, like you said, the fact that you were able to do that and you learned a lot about your body in that process. I mean, when you said you ate intuitively too, I was thinking it's so crazy because like I think this was on a recent episode actually. It's like that's just eating, that's just life, right? You're just eating. Um
Yeah.
and you're listening to your body, but then it's so crazy when you get into this world of weighing and prepping your food, like well, not so much prepping your food, but measuring your food, making sure it's all good to the gram. What's so crazy is like That's not what most people do. Like a majority of people don't weigh their stuff or measure their stuff. And yet I personally can never imagine going back to not weighing out my food. It's just like, it's just habit now.
Yeah, I'm not totally following like a meal plan right now, but I'll still weigh out my rice and stuff just because I'm like, oh, I don't want to go over. Not all the time, but it's sort of it's such a habit now, and it's good at portion control. And I think more people that don't even compete, just people learning how to lose weight and stuff, should learn how to weigh food for portion control, because a lot of people overeat. Their eyes are, can't tell how much they're eating.
Totally. Absolutely. I could not agree more. I sometimes notice I don't do as much like training as I used to in terms of the online training I used to focus on most within my business. Now I just moved on to what I'm doing with bikini competitors. But what I notice with the ones that I do train, it's a lot of times they're under eating, like they're under eating, and then they have like major overeating sessions, or because they weren't weighing it, like you said, they didn't realize how much they were overeating. And you can think you're eating healthy, eating like a handful of nuts and a bowl of fruit and things like a lot of rice and chicken, but none of that really matters. Like it can still be too much for your needs, or it can be too little, and then we experience those things. And that's what I was wondering with you, because as a coach yourself, do you feel like your perspective and experiences change the way you like basically like do your experiences change the way you can approach the different people you work with? Like have you had any significant point of view or changes in your coaching philosophy yourself now that you've been working with a coach?
Yeah, it's certain things like, I used to tell people go on, the treadmill for 30 minutes. And ever since training, I had never trained before going by calories. And that's what I did with Team Atlas. And I like that way so much better, because you have to burn 200, 300 calories and you are on time crunch, then you just push yourself even harder to get it over with. And I like that method so much better. So I've adopted that and used it with my clients now, and they like it way better too. It's just, it's actually easier, I think.
Yeah, I guess it gives you that freedom to decide how you want to invest in the burning of those calories. And how do you know that it's an accurate calorie count? Like, how are you tracking that?
Well, I don't know if it's accurate. I just go by what the treadmill or the stair mill tells me. I don't wear a watch. I've never even had one of the, the Apple Watches or the Fitbit.
Yeah.
But I just go by what it tells me. I have faith in it. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I'm just like, yeah, it's done, and here we go.
It's kind of like a consistency measurement, I guess, too. It's like when you take your body fat percentage, as long as you're doing it on the same thing every time, I think the adjustments will be made properly and
Yeah.
accordingly. So that makes sense to me. And, you decided to do the New York Pro for your pro debut, which, as we know, is one of the biggest pro shows. So what made you decide to do that?
First of all, the only reason why I did that is because it's the closest show to me, and that everyone told me it was one of the hardest shows, and it was one of the biggest stages. It's as big as the Olympia stage by how big it is, and the judges are so far away where I couldn't even see them. But
Wow.
I didn't care. I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go up there. I didn't think anything of it. Looking back, I wish I did a different show, because sort of, I got third call outs. I didn't do that well. And obviously, because I'm going up against girls that are going to be in Olympia in the fall. And, it sort of was a blow to my ego, not like doing as well as I thought, where I placed well all my other shows. But, at the same time, I, had to learn a lesson from it, and, just take it as a grain of salt. And, I did get to go on one of the biggest stages, and I'm just grateful that I was able to do that. But yeah, the main reason why I chose that show is because I could drive there. I didn't want to fly to my first show.
Yes.
My first pro show.
Well, I think what you just said is pretty powerful in the sense that you learned a great lesson. And you said that it kind of was almost like a blow to your ego. So how did you feel after the show?
I was glad that I had done it, but it made me want to get back up on stage and do better again, because, I can't, I wasn't sure if I was going to compete again after this. I was like, well, I'll do one pro show, then I'll be done. It's like when I first started out, I was like, I'll do one show and that will be it. So on my bucket list, then you sort of get addicted to it. Then you're like, okay, let me get to a national show. Get to a national show, get your pro card. And you're like, okay, this is what I want to do. And then you get your pro card and you're like, okay, I got to do a pro show now. And then I was like, I'm going to do one pro show and then I'm done. And now I'm like, no, I can't be done because I can't leave on a bad note. And,
yeah.
I don't think I'm ever going to stop competing anyways, but like going to a prep sometimes I'm like, I don't know how much longer I can do this. I'm 39. So, if I was younger, I don't know. I feel like, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to do this for the next 10 years or so. But sometimes with me, I'm like, oh, am I too old for this? But I'm just going to keep on going, keep on doing it.
That brings up a lot of great points. That what makes you, or what made you think, okay, after this, I'm going to be done? Like, what is it that makes you, I'm going to be done?
Well, first of all, it's financially, it's a lot of money, as you know. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I could use this money to go on a vacation instead. I could, I have stuff I want to do around the house. It's just little things like that. I don't like spending money. I'm so bad. I'd rather save it up. But
me too.
So, I always think, oh, what could I do with this instead? And it's expensive, especially when you have to get a flight, a hotel and everything. But I think that also, I think, I'm getting married next year and, we're planning on having children too, even at my age, we're just going to be a little bit later, but, it's life things. Third part of my life is put on hold a little bit socially while I'm in a prep. And that's one thing I want to get better at doing is still like having a social life during a prep. Because a lot of times it's gym, work, napping, sleeping, eating.
Yeah.
And, I want to, sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym. And, it's just complaining, the little things. It's not easy to go through a prep, but it's not all the time, but certain times I'm just like, okay, this is it. I'm done after this. But then again, I come back and I'm like, no, I'm not done. So it's like a constant battle.
Yes, totally. And I think from the financial aspect, what I always tell myself, or I like to express to others as well, is like, it's worth the investment if you really love it and you want to keep doing it and it means something to you, or if it's going to improve your life. And I think so often we either want to spend money or hold back on spending money because we're like, well, I don't need it, or I could do so many other things. But it's like, at the end of the day, is this going to make you happier? Is this going to make you better? Is this going to improve your life? And if the answer is yes, and it inspires you, makes you feel like a better person, or helps you mentally, emotionally, socially, whatever it might be, that's an important investment to make. So I think it's awesome what you're saying is, despite, sometimes you feel that way, it's like, I still do it because I love it and I can't stop. And
it's addictive. It's something I think I need in my life, even if sometimes it pops into my head that I don't want to do it anymore. It's just something I love, having that goal of stepping on stage. It gives me a lot of purpose in life, and it gives me something to look forward to and to have a drive. And I need stuff like that in my life, or I just feel sort of empty, and it fills that for me.
Yeah, no, totally get that. And you mentioned something that I think a lot of women listening can relate to. I get messages actually asking, have you had women who are older on your show? Can you point me in the direction of their podcast or of their podcast episode? Like, I'm like 35. I'm not sure if I should be doing this. Am I too old? Or I'm 55. Am I too old? Whatever it might be. And, you said it yourself. Am I too old for this? So why does that go through your head, and what do you do to combat that when it comes up?
I don't know. I just think it's, society has puts in people's head that you're this age and you can't do this anymore. And and sometimes that pops into my head. I'm like, can I do this anymore? Am I too old for this? Do I look stupid doing this at this age? But then I'm like, no, I don't. This is what I want to do, and I'm not going to listen or care about anything. If I want to do it, I'm going to do it. And that's why I love doing it too, because I want to show other women that are older too, that they can do this too, and they can be good at it, and they can, compete with girls of all ages.
Mm.
And I think there's women, more and more women now that are older are getting into it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And super inspired by the fact that, you know, there's like masters division and masters nationals, and there's I'm pretty sure, isn't there like a masters pro thing? Like you can compete in pro shows as just a master?
Yes, you can. There's certain shows that are just for, I think, 35 and up, and there's some for 40 and up, or I even think there's some for like 45 and up. So, and it's just those age brackets. I don't think there's any like open pro shows that have separate masters themselves.
Right.
I think the masters just have their own shows.
Yes, and that's good for people to know when they're listening, is those shows aren't going to qualify you points for the Olympia, or maybe they won't
Mm-hmm.
help you as much in terms of stepping on the Arnold stage when you apply. Potentially, I don't know for sure, so don't quote me on that, but it is an opportunity for the people who are thinking, well, I love competing, I still want to step on stage to do it. I don't need to become Miss Bikini Olympia, but I want to
Yeah.
compete against some of the best in my age and all that. But also, like you said, show them that you can step on stage with anyone of any age. You know, we've had pros on here now who are 18 years old up to pros who are over 50 years old. It's so cool. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a great perspective. And, you know, now going back to this prep for this show, you were eating tons of food. Actually, I got really fascinated in your prep, to be honest with you, because I was like, I saw you on Team Atlas's story and I was like, who is this girl? Like, what the heck? She looks amazing. Her hamstrings are so nice. I was like, she's like awesome. Like her shape is just awesome. And I was like, and she's eating how much? I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So did you ever get sick of eating so much food leading into it, or were you excited about it?
Like maybe the first 2 days I was excited, and then it got to be a lot. I mean, it was a lot of food. It was over 6,000 calories. So
Oh my God.
there's a point where I just couldn't eat anymore. And I had never ate that much in a day in my whole entire life.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah, it was crazy. I'm like, is this really happening? I thought I was dreaming sometimes. I had to pinch myself, but it was fun at first, but then it's like, it got to be a chore almost. And I hate the feeling of being full, but you know, you just get used to it. And then in the back of your head, you're scared. You're like, is this going to work? Or is this going to backfire on me? Because I had never done it before. So I was a little anxious about that. I didn't know if it was going to pan out to be okay, or if I was going to like spill way over, which obviously I'm going to anyways, eating that much. But, you know, I just had to listen to my coach and do what I was told. You know, I was doing great until maybe 2.5 weeks out. We upped my calories in good food, like rice and stuff. And I was eating a lot of food then, and then I started dropping weight. Like I started leaning out even more. I don't know what was going on with my body, but I was eating more, but I was losing. And then that's when he decided to add in all the Nutella and, you know, the bagels and the orange juice and stuff like that on top of my base meals.
Wow. That is so wild.
Yeah.
Like, that is so wild, but really cool. I mean, the fact that the way the human body works and the way you're learning about your body, and maybe the next prep will be different, or maybe it won't be. And that maybe you'll need 10,000 calories, which I don't know, that would make me sick. But I could see how also, like the mindset of it, you know, like, oh my gosh, is eating this going to affect how I look? Is it going to make me look a certain way? And I like that you put trust in your coach. And actually, I'm not going to mention any names, but I talked to a pro at Legends Classic of 2018, and I asked her, I was like, oh, did you get a burger and fries? And she said, yeah, but I'm probably not going to eat it. I might just do this instead. And I was thinking, like, I would love to have a burger and fries right now. And then I was like, it's interesting how, as competitors, even if our coach tells us to do something, sometimes we think in our heads, like, is that what I should do? Like, what if it bloats me? What if it messes me up? Like, there were times I had to invest a lot of trust in my coach and in the plan. And, I'm sure they had the burger and fries anyways. Like, I'm almost positive, but in our heads, we get in it, like, is it going to work? Like, my coach gave me egg whites one time, and I've never had egg whites that close to a show because, usually makes me like kind of bloated or gassy. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to trust him. He's been watching my body this whole time and nothing bad happened. You know what I mean? Like, it was fine.
Yeah.
But it's like those little things, no matter what it is. So, it's just kind of cool that you were able to do that. And speaking of bloating, you have put out a lot of good information about reducing bloat, which I think a lot of girls always want help with, So what are some things you've done to help that?
Well, I have to stay away from certain things that my body doesn't like dairy products. You just have to know what your body can tolerate and what it can't. Not everybody is intolerable to dairy like I am. Some people can be intolerable to asparagus and they don't know it. When everyone says eat asparagus, like there's certain foods that can just react with your digestion that will bloat you, and it's important to pay attention to how you feel after you eat. If you get bloated from something, you'll know it, but I'm not saying like, pay attention early on, like how certain foods make you feel. I know dairy, I can't eat it. So, it doesn't make me feel good. It bloats me. And so I stay away from that. Also, I like things like dandelion root, and it's more of a diuretic, but for some reason it de-bloats me taking the dandelion root pill. And I never did that during my prep, but I just started doing it after my prep because I was bloated after my prep, from introducing the new foods. And I take it every day now. I take like 2 or 3 of them every day now, and it's helped me so much.
That's awesome. Yeah, my coach always tells me like I use dandelion root like 10 days out from a show, and then after a show I keep taking it I reduce the amount I'm taking up until I'm done taking it at all. But I've noticed the same thing. It helps so much with my digestion and also just like keeping the bloat down. It doesn't make me dehydrated. It doesn't make me look super stringy or anything, but it definitely helps. So that could be something good. I've tried dandelion tea, didn't like it. I like the pill form though.
Yeah, I like the tea in the winter. I can drink that in the winter. I don't mind the taste of it, but I think I heard you saying that on another podcast too, that you didn't like it. But I like it in the winter when it's freezing cold here. Then I'll drink it to warm me up, but not in the summer or like the warmer months. But yeah, it's just certain foods are gonna bloat you, and certain things are gonna bloat you, and you just have to realize what does and what you're intolerable to and cut them out.
Yeah, totally. And that's the best advice that I think anyone could receive. It's just like, know your own body. No, there isn't necessarily a secret to it, but some things do work better than others. And you also focused a lot on corrective exercise, and you experienced a lot of serious changes because a few years ago you had fractured, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a few years ago you fractured your femur, and then you had to get hardware put in, and then now you've been seeking out corrective exercise and help with this. So what has the effect been from fracturing your femur on the rest of your body? And what have you done to work through it and reduce the pain and make sure things look balanced?
So I have severe pain ever since. I have issues. I have IT band syndrome and I have sciatica. And this person approached me in the gym because he wanted me to start training his wife there. And Aaron is his name, and he's a posture specialist. So he's not like a chiropractor. He's not like a physical therapist, but he's a kinesiologist and biomechanic. So he has this business. He used to be in San Diego, actually, and him and his wife moved back here and started a business here because they had family roots here. So he has a place. And how it happened is he wanted me to train his wife at the gym we're in. And then we got to talking. I was telling him about my teen and everything. He's like, you got to come see me. And I went to see him, and automatically after the first visit, I felt so much better. My pain went away. And basically he told me I have major imbalances. Like my right hip is higher than my left hip, which again, you're connected. Your whole body's like a chain. So that makes my left shoulder go lower. So when I pose, I'm totally off and it doesn't look balanced. And also when I work out, I'm not working my muscles as I should because of my muscles not working correctly. So he put me through these exercises, and they were so simple exercise. They were very simple, but nothing I've ever done before. And then he gave me a list of them to do at my house, 10 minutes a day. And I felt so much better. And then I went to him again and did more. Like you add on the exercises and he switches them around on me. And like after the third visit, I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but I was so much better. And that was just I think that was maybe I started going to him 4 weeks before my pro debut. So I can't imagine even like continuing to do this, how it's going to improve my posing alone. And not to mention the pain that I experienced for like the last 8 years since I broke my leg. It's just, it's amazing what he taught me to do that has changed things, which I want to post a video on some of the exercises he gave me, because some of these exercises he gave me also activate your glutes more before you do a glute workout, which are things I've never seen anybody do before to activate their glutes.
Wow.
But it helped me so much.
Share the secrets.
I know. I need to do a post about that because it's these simple things, and they're simple but effective.
Yeah, totally. I remember I actually hired a trainer a few months ago now, just for corrective exercise work, because I was like, I know that as an athlete, like when we can focus on the little things, the bigger picture becomes a lot better. And like you said, it's without the little details, the big details can't come in as nicely. So I hired him, and some of the things that we had to do, I was like, or that he had me doing, I was like, wow, this is great. I didn't have to wear knee sleeves anymore. I felt like I was more grounded. I learned a lot about my tendencies with my body. So I think it's really great that you're promoting that and that you've done that for yourself. And you are such a great example of it, because you had some serious problems and they recur, but now you're taking action and preventative action as well as proactive action. So I love that. And the fact that it's going to impact your posing and your physique and your training, like it's a win-win across the board. So I think that is so great.
Yeah, it even helps me with walking, like walking in heels with my posing. It helps with that too. So, I was skeptical going into it, but then after the first visit, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, why didn't I know about this sooner?
Yeah, no, for real. I sometimes it's so weird because especially as trainers, we know these things matter and we know they're important. And yet sometimes we're like, I'll just not do that right now. And then when we start doing it and we make it a priority, it helps so much. And sometimes it sucks because you're like, I don't have 5 extra minutes today. I don't have 10 extra minutes today, but we do, we really do. And so when we prioritize those things, it does make a difference. And you also use a waist trainer, right?
Yes.
Okay,
I do.
got it. And so why do you use that, and what kind of difference has that made for you? Because that's something that's pretty controversial, right? Like, does it work? Are they really, beneficial? So what's your story with that?
So I was always skeptical of a waist trainer. I didn't think they worked. I talked to people, they're like, it doesn't work. So it's like, I'm not going to buy one, if it doesn't work, if people say it doesn't work, if it's just like, people trying to make money off of something, that's what I thought it was. And then when I started working with Team Atlas, that was one of the requirements, is to wear a waist trainer throughout the day and then to wear a workout belt during your workouts. And I did. I started to, and I saw, I went into my show last year without wearing one, my national show, and almost 3 inches larger in my waist.
Wow.
It took off almost 3 inches from my waist, just because What it does is it atrophies like the sides. And when you're working out and doing exercises, you're using those muscles. And I'm very straight up and down, like boyish figure almost.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any curves. Like I don't have any hips. So every time I would do something, I would use those muscles, which was basically they were being built and being worked. So I was still straight up and down. So what this belt does is atrophy those muscles so they don't do the work when you're working out. Even during cardio, I wore one. And
Wow.
and it gave me some curve, which I had always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And, in bikini, they want to see that hourglass shape, the
Yeah.
small waist and everything. So it, it took, I didn't see it at first. I had to wear it every single day. I wore the waist trainer for about 6 hours a day. And then I wore the workout belt during my workouts. And, after a while, and again, I just started using it in January of this year, I saw results. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm like, and again, I was like, why didn't I do this sooner? Type of thing. Like, it worked for me. And I feel like it works for a lot of people. I don't see how it couldn't work for people if it works for other people, if it worked for me. So, and also it supports your back. So, it's a win-win.
Yeah, totally. And it's interesting because like power lifters, they wear weight training belts, which of course is for the fact that then they can breathe into the belt and they almost like push their abs into it. So there's no space. So it creates like an extra wall around their entire back to protect their back, right? But in bikini or in bodybuilding, we don't want to push against it because that's like super engaging of the abs. So usually it's just about making it really tight and like you said, atrophying those muscles. But like you said, it can definitely protect the back and it helps a lot in that sense. I've never worn a waist trainer, but I do like using weight belts, especially on like heavier leg days. So that's great to hear about your story. I would actually love to see like a picture comparing the difference. I think that would be really cool.
I know, I gotta find one because I have to say, before I started wearing the waist trainer, the last like probably first 3 shows I did, I trained my abs constantly, and I pretty much had a 6-pack, and that's something they don't want in bikini. So once I got the waist trainer, I stopped training my abs. I literally did it probably once a month, train my abs, opposed to every day. And just to lose that definition, because they don't want to see that, really, you know what I mean? They don't, it's too much. So I stopped training my abs. So the thing is like, I don't have the, the hard 6-pack stomach, but yeah, I'm smaller now and have like curves, like more womanly, you know what I mean? So there's a difference in that too, which I think the before pictures might look like I'm more fit because you see the 6-pack, but if I take the measuring tape to it, you could see the difference. You know what I mean?
Yes, totally. And I like that you're mentioning that's what the bikini division is looking for. They don't want you to have like super blocky abs or anything like that. But you do need to have ab lines and definition and a nice waist and like you said, hourglass figure. So that's super, super cool. And when you started your prep for your pro debut, you were pretty lean already, but then you built a lot of muscle since you earned your pro card, right? So in between that time, a lot of muscle was put on. So how much time did you take off?
So every show I've done, I've taken almost a year off, except for nationals. I went from the Jay Cutler Classic in May and then into a national show in July, I think. And that was the closest, like that was the first time I ever had 2 shows in 1 year. Wow. Usually I would just do the one spring show because I knew I had to build my shoulders. I knew I had to build my glutes. And I think that for, what I was going for my pro card, I needed to do that. It's funny because when I did do the New York Pro, my feedback was I needed to lose my shoulders. So
oh my god,
I'm not even working out my arms right now at all. So I'm trying to lose that, but I don't know. everything like changes all the time, I think.
Yeah.
You
No,
just
I
never
couldn't
know.
agree
You
more.
just got to stay up with what the judges are looking for. And I know at the pro level, I feel like it's like I have to now lose muscle. I'm not training my legs even. I'm training my glutes twice a week, and I'm
Yeah.
doing cardio, yoga, and that's it. I'm
Wow.
not really doing, I'm trying to lose muscle. Like everyone's like, oh, you have a great hamstring. I'm trying to lose those. I haven't trained my hamstring since February, and they're like still hanging on, and I don't know what to do about it. I just don't know
Dang.
what to do.
Put a waist trainer
Because
on them.
yeah, I was thinking about like shrink wrapping them or something. Like was I don't know, but the thing is like my hamstrings being so developed the way they were, that takes away from my glutes and my glute roundness. Like I'm
Oh
not like
yeah.
when so that's what I'm trying to do is lose, like go down in muscle size in my legs so my glutes can be bigger looking.
Mhm. Yeah, I hear you on that. I think it's interesting too how much like we commit to the sport and the look, right? We like, I gotta fit the look. I need to make sure I'm good for the judges because that's part of the sport. And I think people looking in from the outside go, well, that's strange. Why would you train to look a certain way other people want you to look? Why would you change it? Aren't you proud of where you are? Blah, blah, blah. I think everybody can take a different perspective on this. And I'd like to hear what your
Yeah.
perspective is.
I get a lot of people, they're like, you're perfect the way you look, you're fine the way you look. And I'm like, yeah, but it's like, it's my preference of, how it's my goal. It's like my body is like, I don't know, it's something I can mold myself. So, I like the
Yeah,
new challenges because it gives me something to do. And I've always been into working out and, body shape and stuff. So it's just something else I have to work on. I like working on stuff. And,
totally.
I'm not going to ever be satisfied because once you do, then you get complacent and things just like, I don't like to be like comfortable. I want to step out of my comfort zone and, always find ways to improve or, make changes that I want to make do different things. It always changes. And, I'm grateful that people feel like I look fine the way I am, or, I think they think I'm not happy the way I am. It's not that at all. I'm happy at every step of the way. It's just, I like that goal of, okay, let's do this now. Let's do this now. And that's it. It's just, there's nothing really complicated, and I'm not like upset about anything. And I don't sit there all day being like, oh, I hate this. I hate this. I don't hate anything. It's another goal for me to have.
Totally. I actually really like what you said about how taking on new challenges and not being satisfied is like your immunity to comfort and complacency. It's a really powerful
Yeah.
like thought because it is. And I always like to take people out of like the mindset they're in currently, which is, bikini competitor, right? Try to relaying their story in another person's life. So imagine if you are a runner. Maybe you are, or let's say a sprinter. Maybe you're a super fast sprinter and you're amazing at it, but your form isn't so great. You might be
Yeah.
winning a lot of races, right? But your coach tells you, look, you need to change this part of your approach to this, right? Or you need to start training these things, or you need to fix the way that your gait is, or whatever. And if the sprinter says no, like like if people say no, you're the fastest sprinter out there, don't do this, it'll make you slower. And let's say the sprinter listens to that, the longevity of that sprinter now goes down dramatically, and because they might get injured, they might get hurt. Maybe that's the reason they need to change things. Not sustainable, whatever it might be. If you look at that and you compare that to this sport, it's like, okay, you might be happy where you are, and I hope that you are, right? That's the only way you should compete in this sport, in my opinion. You need to be happy beforehand. But besides the point,
Yeah.
when a judge gives you feedback, you accept that that's the sport. That's the name of the game. So if you're in it for the long term, you have to accept that that comes with it, and changing your form or posing, right? Yeah, you might love your
Yeah.
posing routine, but it looks horrible on you, so you need to change it, but that doesn't make,
Exactly.
yeah. So I like that mindset. I like that perspective a lot. And now I was thinking, there's a lot of ways that as competitors, we need to reset our body and our mind. And you said that you were taking a year off between shows, except for that one time. So what types of things do you do to reset the body, reset the mind during that time off?
I just try to spend more time with the people I love. I have to take a step back. Like after this last show I did, I could have jumped into another show and another prep, but mentally I knew I needed a break. It wasn't even my body. I could have kept on pushing my body. Mentally, I knew I needed to step back. And I told my coach that I'm like, no, I'm not following my diet 100%, but I'm still eating healthy, but I just need to step back because mentally I'm not 100% there and I want to be 100% there. And, they agreed. They're like, well, that's good because when you do your next show, you'll be 100% in it. And I don't want to burn out. So I'm not in a rush to like jump from show to show if I'm not mentally ready for it. And I know if I am or if I'm not, because right now it's nice out, it's summertime. I'm like, I just need to relax. I just need to, I have projects I want to work on. I do a lot of things around the house. Like I'm a handy woman. I'm sanding my floors. I'm going to be sanding my floors. So I do house projects and stuff like that. Take my mind off of it. This time where I was going to be in the gym, I just find things to do around the house. Spend time with my dogs and just clear my head. So it's not constantly thinking about, okay, I need to do this. I just need to relax. And relaxing is one of the hardest things for me, but I do it the best I can do by keeping myself really busy doing something else.
That's so true. Relaxing, I think, is one of the hardest things for anybody to do. Like, even though we're innately lazy beings, because it's survival, it's almost like we live in a society that tells us to keep going, never stop the grind. But sometimes we need to relax. And what you just said about, sometimes you need to stop thinking about all the things I need to do, and you're doing more things that you want to do or that help you to really just mentally give you that break. And, that allows you to come back 100%. And I remember on an episode with Jennifer Dory, actually, which I know you must be very familiar with being on Team Atlas. I remember she said, like, she's not always 100% in her off season. She doesn't really stick or follow to a plan. That might be different now. I don't know, but that's what she'd said on the episode. And she said that really helps her when she gets on a prep to come back 100 and give it everything she has.
Exactly.
She knows that. So I think everyone's going to find their thing that works for them. And so what I'd love to do now is get your advice for people who have never competed before but want to compete, and then also your advice for competitors who are going after their pro card.
Well, for people who have never competed before, I wouldn't go around asking people that don't compete, like, should I compete? I'm thinking about this. If you want to do it, just do it, because everyone's going to have an opinion about what a bodybuilder looks like. And people that don't compete think you have to starve yourself and not eat. And they just don't get it. I would talk to competitors, see their feedback from it, and I would just do it. Look into coaches. Find a good coach, find a good posing coach, and just jump in the fire and do it. I mean, you have nothing to lose, and you can't be afraid of failure. Or making like a fool of yourself, because who cares? Like, no one's going to remember that. Like, I am the type of person where I don't want to be 90 years old looking back in life and regretting not doing something. Like, that is my biggest fear in life, is regretting not doing something that I wanted to do. So just do it. Just it sounds a little cliche, like Nike, just do it, but you just really have to jump in and do it, and you really have nothing to lose. You'll feel better about yourself. And just always stay true to yourself, go after your goals, and put in 100%. It's hard work, and you got to be ready for the hard work, but it's so worth it.
I like that a lot. And now what about for the competitors who want to go pro?
Well, I think that listen to your coach first of all, but also what works for someone else doesn't mean it will work for you. What you see like other pros doing or hear other girls doing that look great on stage doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You have to learn your body, listen to your coach, and see what works best for you. it's really that simple. I just think a lot of girls that want to go pro, I think it's good to feel inspired and motivated by other girls, but it doesn't mean that what works for them is going to work for you.
I love that.
If that makes sense.
It makes total sense. And I think that that's great advice, because it's easy to get in that comparison game, or easy to think, well, maybe the grass is greener because this person's doing this and their coach is this way, or, oh, I'm not successful because I'm not eating X amount of food, or I'm not doing this, or I'm not feeling like I'm pushing super hard. But maybe that's just not your circumstance right now. Maybe you don't need to do that. Maybe you actually need to step off the pedal a little bit to actually be successful. So I think that is great advice. And what you said, for those who haven't competed too, really made me think of this quote. I remember it got me so inspired when I first started my fitness journey. I don't even remember exactly how it goes, but it was something like, I'm sure people are going to recognize it. It was something like the definition of hell is like basically getting to your last day on earth, and the person you are meeting the person you could have become. And
yeah,
when I heard that quote, I remember just being like, that is so crazy. Imagine, like, no one wants to live that way, and so your
no,
advice about no one's going to remember this, just do what you want to do it for yourself. I love that. And it's true. You don't want to have those regrets. And I think that we can capitalize on that potential. So I really appreciate that advice a lot. And I love everything you've shared with us, and really opening up about your journey and giving us so much insight and really a lot of positive energy here. So I want everybody to be able to find you, connect with you, maybe even work with you. So can you just let them know where they can do all of that?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Rox Body Fit, and it's ROX Body Fit, or roxbodyfit.com. And then I'm also on Facebook under Roxanne Jacqueline. That's my middle name. I go by that on social media a lot. But yeah, you can find me there. And I do posing. I don't coach competitors, but I am a lifestyle coach, and I do give a lot of advice about exercising to some competitors. Like, I have a lot of people reaching out about the glute and hamstrings and stuff. And I'm always there to answer questions about competing. So feel free to reach out anytime with any questions. And I love hearing from people and, meeting new people, new competitors. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll make sure all of that is in the show notes page. So for everybody listening, that's always going to be on celestial.fit/podcast. And when you get there, there's all the links, there's categories, so you'll be able to see it. If you're on mobile and you're trying to find the categories, just scroll all the way down to the bottom and you'll see every single athlete's name that's been featured. And of course, reach out, click and follow, and make sure that you guys ask questions or, show some love. And we always appreciate it. I know the athletes love it so much. So again, thank you so much for coming on, Roxanne.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So everybody listening, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this podcast episode. Just make it awesome.